Hey, this is my sixth time at this podium. Who'd have believed that? Second of all, I want to tell you that this is going to be a bit of a unique experience. I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Smith and his staff for providing this venue, because as many of you probably don't know, we were scheduled at the Garrison. That would have been 50 people total. I'm happy to say that we usually get more than that at these events, and so once Brad was able to make the arrangements between Dr. Smith and his staff in getting us this venue, we sold out very quickly. So that was it's a very nice thing to be able to say that. This speech as such, let me put you all to rest real quickly. You're not going to listen to me nearly as long this year as you have in the past. So I always talk about the fact that I'm an old history teacher at heart. Andy, you're right, I'm also an old coach. So we tend to be long-winded. So Daniel and Jared and I sit down several months ago. This speech actually was originally written back in the middle of February. Okay, how do we get this speech to fit into that 30-minute mold? Daniel actually didn't ever say this, but he said that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough to do. So we actually are going to do a lot of filming, a lot of video, and some live intermixed to keep me on task. So if I go longer than 30 minutes, it's Daniel's fault, okay? So Daniel, go ahead and start the first video. Welcome, and thank you for attending my sixth State of the City address. I want to thank Brad Kloppenstein, Andrea Kaminsky, Gina Apple, and all members of the Chamber Board, and of course our sponsor, Andy Brown and Gregory Appel. It is still fascinating to me how fast these first 5.5 years have flown by. We've come a long way since 2016. Many of you here today may remember that nearly 14 months ago, I would be delivering what would essentially be my last public address for 2020. The very next evening, both Jason Fenwick and myself would be attending the first Super Spreader event at Lawrence North Sectional, and by early the next week, everything would begin to shut down. I can clearly remember driving into work, and it seemed as if I was driving through a ghost town. In all honesty, it's been a very difficult year for most of us. Let's hope and pray that a return to normalcy is just around the corner. Not so long ago, I was in the midst of great conversation with a friend of mine of over 30 years. As we thought back over the 6 decades we'd lived here, it became clear in the first years of the new millennia, our city seemed resistant to change, and the city stagnated. Complacency had become the norm, yet cities surrounding us were moving forward at an impressive pace. In these last 6 years, we've evolved into a city with a vision, a city with big ideas, with citizens and leaders who are being asked to pave the way to make them become a reality. Some of these decisions will take courage, and there is always risk. As we charge headlong into the next decade, we must accept the fact that real progress is difficult and doesn't come easy. To borrow a phrase from Theodore Roosevelt, the credit belongs to those actually in the arena. We must strive valiantly and stay in the arena. Any effective leader can attest that they must depend upon their staff to carry out policies and procedures. I'm enormously proud of my administrative team. The City of Lawrence has received many kudos, and those that are truly responsible for this are my staff. Let me take a quick moment to introduce them to you. City Clerk Kathy Walden. Kathy, if you'll stand up real quick. I let you applaud for Kathy for one big reason, that is that in about a week, she will have been in the city for 25 years. So pretty impressive accomplishment. You'll hold your applause now as we go through the rest of them. Controller's Office, CFO, Deputy Mayor, a man who I will truly miss, unfortunately, Jason Fenwick, and his cohort, Tyler Dalford. Our financial analyst is Humphrey Nagella. Parks Director, Superintendent Eric Martin. Operations, Scott Salisbury. Water and Sewer Utility, Paul Warner. Streets and Chief Pothole Filler of the city, Jim Hennigan. City Engineer, Sri Venugopalan, and yes, I can say that now that I've practiced it about 50 times. My Chief Advisor, Ray Cox, here in front. Economic Development, Deputy Chief of Staff, Dan Zerner and Joe Murphy. Manager of Communications, Daniel Byer. Graphic Designer, Jared Hooten, who you've seen up here already. Our City Attorney, Caitlin Voller. Our IT Coordinator, Brian Glass. Executive Assistants, Mary Jo Rothenbush and Damaris Arejita. Our Human Resources Director and Lawrence Central graduate, Jeanette Jackson. And last, certainly not least, sorry about that, my wife of what will soon be, believe it or not, 43 years. She usually says something like that about 35, those have been happy too. So we're back to the video now. Jared, we'll start with the controller's office. Happily, what I'm about to say has become old news. The city ended the fiscal year with a general fund operating reserve of $8.6 million. We just keep setting records through responsible stewardship while continuing to invest in the city. Jason and his staff have restored accountability and transparency. All city monthly financial statements since 2016 are available for anyone to view on our website. This year's adopted budget can be seen online or in hardcover, available for anyone to see. Clear evidence that we are committed to total transparency. Never in this city's history has this much information been available to the general public. HR Director Jeanette Jackson has made great progress expanding opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses doing business with the city. We've just been informed that we are recipients of our 4th straight GFOA Distinguished Budget Award, one of only 2 cities in the United States that have won it 4 years in a row. Our city's S&P rating is A+. The city's water utility has never been on such solid financial ground. We are poised to plan and to continue to invest in capital projects. Our operating reserve allows us to weather the kind of financial collapse we witnessed in the spring-summer of 2020, with nearly no noticeable impact. This kind of financial report lends instant credibility to our city, and we continue to witness signs of unprecedented growth. So I just have to comment a couple of things about what you saw there in terms of what's happened in terms of the financial situation of the city. I don't think I ever could have imagined back in 2016 when I took over that we would be able to be in the position where we are right now in terms of our financial, our capital, our financial position, and our credit rating. We are able to do capital projects in the near future without any fear of it having any impact whatsoever on our tax base. That's something that couldn't have been said not too many years ago. I mentioned Jason earlier, and I'll mention him probably several times throughout today, but when I got Jason to work for the city back in 2015, I made the mistake, or I guess I made the correct error in telling him just how bad things were. And if you've ever met Jason, you know that he is a person that responds to challenges. So he took the job. I'm not sure that he liked me all that much, but he took the job because it was a challenge for him. And he certainly has stepped up. So I can't say it enough. I'll give you one example that I'll pull out of my hat right here real quick. The COVID-19, when the pandemic started, our MVH funding took a big hit. As most of you know, that people just weren't driving. We took about a $500,000 hit in 2020. Yet, as hopefully you've already noticed, you haven't noticed any impact it's had upon the city moving forward. And much of that is because we were prepared for something like this. So I'm going to jump now to economic development. Jared, go ahead. Dan Zerner and Joe Murphy continue to develop relationships resulting in businesses that are willing to invest in Lawrence. Soon, Frigi Refrigeration will begin construction of their new facility. Sondi Solutions, one of the fastest growing tech companies in Indiana, will begin construction to relocate their offices right here in the Fort Bend area. To the delight of many throughout the city, a Starbucks location has also been proposed as a part of this project. The Otis will soon be open for occupancy with 250 high-end apartments, and the True Hotel has already begun to move dirt just up the road. Lawrence Township Schools is in the midst of an unprecedented expansion and remodeling of every school in the district, and will soon open their brand new transportation hub on Poindexter Drive. Soon, Drone Deck will be opening their facility by redeveloping the old Sheriff's Garage at 4423 Shadeland Avenue, creating 85 brand new high-paying jobs right here in Lawrence. And finally, later this month, Arts for Lawrence will soon host a celebration as the long-anticipated cultural campus will be open for business. As many of you know, the cultural campus opening has been delayed a few weeks. However, they do have a VIP opening. I really can't say enough about what's happening and what that Eli Lilly grant has done for the cultural campus and for its opening. I'm looking forward to that opening up and bringing a whole new reason to visit the city and stick around the city. Now, one of the cool things mentioned there is the fact that we're having a company called Drone Deck move into the city, 4423 North Shadeland. This is going to be a pretty cool and kind of a futuristic addition to the city, in which they'll actually be delivering materials through their drone to a specific box throughout the city. I should also tell you that Ms. Dan O'Toole's daughter Laura was just named to the Rising Top 30 in IBJ this past week, so I give a shout out to her. By effectively leveraging EPA grant dollars into private investment along the Pendleton Pike corridor, we continue to enhance our proposed drainage district and major stormwater abatement. Through a series of town hall type meetings, we will be inviting stakeholders and seeking their input. One of the problems that Lawrence encountered, it was a great problem to have back in the 60s and the 50s when we had a big Army base right next to the city. Well, certain economic development, and I'll use that term very loosely, occurs around a Army base. And so as the base closed, back in 1994 actually, we were faced with what to do with Pendleton Pike. It was one of the major arteries leading into the city of Lawrence. So we've set about, and Dan Zerner is literally wearing me out every day, but we have set about and essentially developing a true trades district in the Pendleton Pike area. Ground will soon be broken on Parcel J, which is perhaps the most coveted location in the city. Sawney Solutions will soon move their operations to this property, and next to them will be, keep your fingers crossed, the long sought after Marion County Public Library. We will soon learn the identity of a national restaurant chain who has begun work on the corner of Franklin Road and Pendleton Pike. I wish I could tell you what it's going to be, but it's going to be pretty cool. That's all I can tell you right now. So I'm sworn to secrecy. Facilitation of continued tech investment and innovation here in the city center has resulted in the Fort Bend and the city of Lawrence earning the 2020 Miro Award. Special thanks, Aletha, for your work on that project. I know Aletha's here. So Aletha, will you stand up real quick? Miro Award is a tough one to win, and Aletha took care of all of writing the information, preparing the presentation to the Miro Award panel, and when we won it, I wish I could have captured her face when they saw the actual initial presentation, because it was one of pure joy and one you so richly deserved. So thank you, Aletha. I'm going to switch now to operations, and I want to just a brief overview of our operations, which is in utility, sewer, water, and of course DPW. In 2016, we were just months away from losing our water utility. Virtually no paving projects for nearly 5 years, water plants that were consistently failing, mains that were failing at an alarming rate in the older part of Lawrence. Permitting and licenses have become so cumbersome that many contractors refuse to work in the city. To say that we had a job in front of us to correct these problems would be a major understatement. But just a few years back, I took a small chance on an individual that has a very high amount of innate intelligence. Those of you who ever have a chance to read the Lawrence Lift, that's written by Scott Salisbury. So Scott's intelligence level, I recognized very quickly that was real high. I couldn't perhaps have expected the successes that would come under his leadership. So let's go to operations. Scott Salisbury's outstanding leadership continues to provide for efficient and effective operations. Scott has vastly improved the fiscal performance of the utility operations, and the widespread infrastructure work continues. Work continues on 59th Street Water Plant. This $12 million project is joining the Indian Lake Water Plant improvement, and both will be finished in early 2022. Upon their opening, the city will be able to produce over 1 million gallons of fresh water each and every day. Through the great efforts of Deputy CFO Tyler Douthit, our utility customers can make utility payments at our drive-up payment kiosk located at our Lawrence Government Center. Jim Hennigan's crews filled over 9,000 potholes in 2019 and 2020. But the good news is that number is the fewest in the last 3 years, thanks largely to the $7 million spent on paving since 2016. Remember to please report all potholes to the city's website. The good news is that, as promised, we were able to move into neighborhoods with the Samuel Records and the Harrison Park paving projects in the summer of 2020. The complete reconstruction of Harmon Way has made ingress and egress to Community Park far safer. 2 new salt trucks, a brand new sign truck, and we added a hot box to double our ability to respond to potholes. Our ability to respond to snow events is without peer. We continue to fight the battle to keep our streets clear of litter. We finished up a month-long campaign to encourage all citizens to stop littering. This problem cannot and should not be the responsibility of the city. We must all take personal responsibility, for without that, this problem will never go away. This past fall, Sri Venugopalan, our city's engineer, unveiled a new and far more efficient permitting process that has been roundly appreciated by contractors wanting to do business here in Lawrence. For far too many years, due to an abundance of ill-conceived ordinances adopted many years ago, there were too many roadblocks for those seeking to do business here in the city. In November of 2020, the city finally took back our stormwater. The Indianapolis Stormwater District, created in 2003, resulted in an abject failure for the city of Lawrence. For many years, this agreement signed in 2003 resulted in nearly all of the fees collected from Lawrence citizens being spent any place but Lawrence. After 4.5 years, with the help of Brian Baza, we were able to wrest control of these funds from Indianapolis. We'll now be collecting over $1.8 million each year that will be dedicated to stormwater improvements. As I hope by now, my commitment to public safety has never wavered. I am among the very luckiest of mayors across this great nation to have the kind of professional leadership that is demanded of this most important of services. Under the leadership of Chief David Hoffman and Chief Dino Batalis and their respective administrative staffs, I have the utmost faith that they are doing their best each and every day to keep our citizens safe. This past year has been truly a testament to their conviction to that pledge, and I want to say publicly now to thank both of you for getting the city of Lawrence through the pandemic with virtually no interruption of services. At the Lawrence Police Department, Chief Hoffman has overseen all the following: completed move-in to the new police station, started operations from new location at 5150 North Post Road, including our modern 911 communications center. Since opening, dozens of officials from departments around the state have visited LPD for tours of the new station, as an example of municipal progress and to gather ideas for starting their own building projects. We managed the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic environment with no documented on-duty related exposures. With the assistance of LFD leadership and advice, LPD Command was aggressive in identifying and updating procedures and best practices to ensure their officer and employee health, including providing 3 different styles of protective masks and developing resources for securing critically needed hand sanitizer, either through donations or at no tax dollars being spent for these items. We completed a highly successful 98-episode run on the A&E television show Live PD, where despite being the smallest agency to participate, LPD was the second longest tenured department participating on the show. 2 million viewers each night from around the country went on virtual ride-alongs and witnessed the excellent work being conducted by agencies across the country, including right here in Lawrence. We completed a 4-year plan of upgrading the police vehicle fleet. All full-time officers are assigned vehicles that are 3 years old or less, with the majority of them SUV-style vehicles. These are more cost-efficient, lower maintenance, safer, easier to navigate in snow, and far more back-friendly for LPD's officers. In today's policing environment, for officers in uniform and on patrol, their vehicle is their mobile office. To provide a safer, cost-effective vehicle that contributes to fewer health issues is a win in every way. We managed the unprecedented challenges of the year that saw municipalities across the U.S. and right here in Indianapolis experience incidents of violence and civil unrest. Here in Lawrence, due in no small part to the investment in community relationships we've developed through the last 5 years, there were no adversarial nor violent protests, riots, or significant conflict related to police-community relations. Online social media advertising, television media, banners, and a billboard and police vehicle advertisements were planned in 2020 to help us in our hiring process. Our fire department continues to serve, protect, and support our city under Chief Vitalis' leadership. In November, we reached a major milestone by completing the replacement of all frontline fire apparatus. COVID-19 delayed us by about a year, but we got her done. We now have 3 new Lucas devices that allows hands-free CPR. They've been installed in all 3 of our ambulances. We've been awarded a grant to purchase power cots that will dramatically reduce lifting injuries among our firefighters and EMS. Despite the restrictions imposed by COVID, over 400 families received assistance this year through Chief Vitalis' Firefighter Family Assistance. It's hoped that later this summer we will begin the long overdue demolition and rebuild of Station 38 and construction of a brand new state-of-the-art fire station in the heart of our city. 38 is our oldest at 35 years young and our busiest firehouse, with the highest number of runs every year. It was built before we became a professional fire department and was never meant to be lived in 24/7. And a brief break, and this is something new to the program. Dave, will you and Dino both stand up, please? You know, as a city, we did a great job, I think, of recognizing first responders in every area except for ourselves. But I can tell you right now, these 2 guys put in one hell of a year last year. They had to undergo and change and adjust to so many different conditions. Yet they did so with little complaint, actually no complaints except for Dino occasionally on something else totally unrelated. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think I could thank them enough for the level of professionalism they brought to not only themselves, but also members of their department to the city, and to get us through what was truly an unprecedented situation. So let me tell you right now, I'm thanking you publicly for what you've done. And yeah, you can applaud right now. And that's a well-deserved standing O, guys. Okay, let's go to Parks and Recreation. Our parks have always been something that's been kind of a hallmark of the city of Lawrence. Eric Martin has been head of the parks for 35 years, is it, Eric? 37 years over there. So he's been a stalwart for so long. But we're about to enter into a kind of a new era for our parks, and we're going to invest quite a bit more money in our parks and make some changes and some long overdue reuses of the parks itself. So let's go ahead to the parks. Eric and his team provide fields to play multiple sports and maintain our acres of parks for citizens to enjoy. The city is committed to making marked improvements to facilities for community engagement. In partnership with the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, the City of Lawrence will begin a $1.2 million development of Civic Plaza this summer, as it will evolve into a true event center for the city. We will begin in earnest implementation of a 5-year comprehensive parks plan. Eric will oversee installation of an ADA-compliant playground in Alexander Park. I hope that all of you have seen our brand new park entrance sign designed by our own Ethan Marasco. There isn't any doubt about just how much they say about our city's recent progress. After becoming another victim of the virus in 2020, this year's July 4th Lawrence 4th Fest should be a great celebration. It will be another year of activities for citizens of all ages, including the carnival from July 1st through July 4th. Saturday's traditional parade will precede another outstanding fireworks display to wrap up our Independence Day celebration. The Fort Bend Farmers Market continues to grow. With Mandy Wright's leadership this past year, the market gave us a bit of normalcy this last summer, and for that we are very grateful. This fall, the city will be partnered with Friends of Fort Harrison, who will host a popular barbecue and blues festival. Over 2,500 attended 2 years ago, and we look forward to its return. Oktoberfest, we call it Loggers in Lawrence, will return in September. Attendance continues to grow as this event has become one of our most anticipated. A Lawrence Christmas and Winterfest provided a welcome respite this past year. Fox 59 weather personality Brian Wilkes returned as our host. It's tradition now. Brian did a great job with the weather again, and over 1,200 people joined us. We had the largest parade ever, and we introduced the very popular skating rink. The reception by the public was just awesome, and we've already planned to greatly expand the hours of operation. Some of you have probably already noticed the nature trail in Lee Road Park, built by Jim Hennigan's crews. The brainchild of Deputy Chief of Staff Joe Murphy, this trail was built at no expense to the city. This year is going to be a bit of a transition year for us. As I said earlier, Civic Plaza is about to undergo a major transformation. So we'll be moving Winterfest out to Lee Road Park. We'll have the rink out there, and we'll have, hopefully by then we'll have, I've been promised or guaranteed by Joe Murphy that pickleball courts will be in out there by this fall. So we'll be adding that to Lee Road Park repurposing. Okay, what to look for in 2021? It seems like, here we are halfway through 2021, so some of this may be, you're already seeing it, but we remain hopeful that progress of the Purple Line will begin to impact the city, and in particular the area around Ivy Tech. It experienced and weathered the challenges this last legislative session, and with the help of my good friend and trusted colleague, Kyle Walker, a freshman senator from District 31. I got to brag a little bit because Kyle Walker and I go back a few years. I saw Kyle Walker one time during his junior year, and that was in the dean's office, believe it or not. But as you know, Kyle has matured into a tremendous young man. He's helped me with my campaigns, and I'm proud to be able to say that he represents now a big portion of the city of Lawrence, Senate 31. So congratulations, Kyle. The dust will begin to settle as the Otis's 250-unit apartment complex will finish up in a planned ribbon cutting on June 10th. True Hotel will ramp up construction, as will the much-anticipated Sandy Starbucks project. Drone Deck will begin testing their delivery system right here in Lawrence. Williams Comfort Air and Midwest Remediation will continue their intern program that will train high school graduates for jobs earning $50,000 a year in under 2 years. Our financial position has never been better as we charge into the second decade. Through intelligent and thoughtful oversight, we have rebuilt the city's financial reputation, and we're going to keep it there. Capital projects will soon need to become a high priority. The remodeling of the government center, continued consolidation of utility and DPW staff, reduction of city-owned properties, and my goodness, people, you would not believe the number of properties the city owns. How we got them, I have no idea. How to get rid of them is even tougher. But we're going to try to get down to the point where we're getting rid of the properties that we don't need, never need in the first place. New businesses are approaching the city regularly as they want to be a part of our growth. By the end of 2021, we will have seen the addition of over 1,000 new jobs paying $55,000 and above. Let me repeat that for you. 1,000 new jobs, brand new jobs, paying $55,000 and above here in the city of Lawrence. Construction has begun on 400 new homes on the east side of the city. Weekly Homes is on track to finish up their third and final phase this summer. We will continue to aggressively market the city through our Lawrence Eats, Why I Love Lawrence campaign, and Choose Lawrence. I want to show you this video that kind of highlights those things here real quick. We will continue to aggressively market the city through our Visit Lawrence website and our recently added Choose Lawrence campaigns.
Over 1,700 acres of beautiful Indiana wilderness, award-winning restaurants, historic military architecture, a budding arts destination, all within minutes of downtown Indianapolis. Welcome to Lawrence, Indiana. Whether you'd rather relax in a recreation of an underground salt mine, mountain bike down miles of trails, play 18 holes designed by a legendary architect, or just take in some fog colors on a quiet walk, Lawrence has something for you. Visit lawrenceindiana.com.
A fort that was decommissioned, but all the beautiful classic historic buildings are still here.
I think the reason a lot of people fall in love with Fort Bend once they discover it is its unique blend of old and new.
There's unbelievable food, lots of things to do, entertain, and that's year-round. I mean, summer, you got the state park. We have our winter fest and the ice skating. Eli Lilly just gave us this amazing grant for the arts.
Fort Bend is seeing a major time period of momentum.
I love it as well because we have a vast diversity, and that's not only in the people and their cultures, but also in lots of different businesses and capacities of businesses. And I just see Lawrence continuing to move down that road of a business hub, but it's still going to be a nice, quaint, quiet town that, again, is great for raising a family.
So we come now to perhaps what is my favorite part of this State of the City speech, where I get to highlight some people that have been very important to the success of the city. Ethan Marasco. Now, this youngster attended elementary school at Sunnyside and Oakland Elementary, went to Cathedral, boo, okay, but we'll move on. But Ethan was recruited into our city as an intern almost 3 years ago now. This kid is incredibly talented, and he is confident, I would say, perhaps too confident in some cases. But Ethan has made such an impact upon the city by developing our new city seal, these the crosswalks, the new signs at our Parks Department, which, Dr. Smith, is kind of a coincidence, quite frankly, that they kind of match your signs out there on the front of your schools. That really was a coincidence, by the way. But Ethan is about to attend Denver, University of Denver. He is going to be so tough to do without him. We'll have some kind of a recognition for him. For those of you who don't know this, the city flag that he designed was adopted unanimously by the council upon presentation. So Ethan's presence will be felt here long after he leaves the city. This next one is one that I am particularly proud of. Jalen Smith. She was the 2021 Indiana Miss Basketball. Indiana Miss Basketball. And yeah, you can applaud that really, really quick. In 2020, just as the COVID-19 pandemic was starting, Jayla Smith led the Elvin Wildcats to its first ever state championship in girls basketball. She was a 3-time selection as All-Marion County, a 3-time selection as All-MIC, selected as a 2020 Junior All-Star, and was named our first ever Indiana Miss Basketball. Jayla will be attending Purdue University this fall, where she will be playing former Elwyn girls basketball coach Sharon Versip, who used to post me up all the time when we played our pickup games. We are very proud of you, Jayla, and I got so much pleasure out of awarding her family one of those signs that we're putting on our Welcome to Lawrence signs. That was a pretty cool event. Sometimes you can do some cool stuff as a mayor, and that was one of the things I really enjoyed most. And finally, this is long overdue. I want to personally thank and recognize publicly Dr. Sean Smith for what he has meant, not only to Lawrence Township Schools, but also to the city of Lawrence. His vision... His vision and leadership are unparalleled. As I've indicated in the theme of this address, he celebrates actually by being in the arena, challenging his teachers, staff, and coaches to achieve great things. With this initiative, the cities and schools have forged an impressive partnership, one which has become the envy of many cities around us. Working together, we've seen some great things happen, and neither one of us are going to be done for a while, right, Dr. Smith? I am encouraged each day that a new standard of growth and opportunity for our city is in place. We continue to work very hard at making Lawrence a place that can be proud to call home. My staff and I relish the idea of continually setting higher but attainable goals for the city. It's clear that people are beginning to take notice and I'm reminded just how good the people of Lawrence are and why I've called this city my home for 60 plus years. As I close, allow me to remind you once again that this kind of progress must become an expectation. It is our new normal. My challenge to you is to actually be in the arena, to strive valiantly, know the triumph of high achievement. We must develop a sense of community, one with heightened expectations of ourselves and those around us. Individually, we'll accomplish very little. Working together, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. We continue to be a great city with great schools and great people. Thank you.